Hi everyone, time to talk about Spirits of the Rice Paddy, and let's just talk about the game in general first. So it's a great puzzle game. It's everything about it is a puzzle really of how big to make your hexes. You can go really big and you can go up to 5, and then if you have a fertilized 5, you can see on the yield chart there, fertilized 5 are worth crazy amount of points compared to the smaller ones, but on the other hand they're very hard to fill. And if you aren't going to be high up in the turn order track, how are you going to fill those with water? Because you can't partially fill paddies, you have to fill them all in one go. So if you're going to go for those really big ones, then be prepared to desperately try and go first so you can get the water that you need. So it's a puzzle of how to build your hexes so that everything flows into each other and everything's the right size. And then how do you use your workers and your animals in the right order? How do you decide what you're going to let water out of this round and where it's going to go when not enough comes in? It's just great. It all works together really well. These spirit cards as well, they're in a two-player or a solo game, which is all I've played of this, then you're not going to see that many of these. So there's a lot of variety that comes in these cards, and they can really change your game up. Like I managed to get the ones that like planting doesn't take any workers and harvesting takes half workers. They work together really well, but they did mean that I had a lot of wasted workers, so I probably didn't need both of those things going on at once. But there are brilliant powers that didn't really come out. So for example, there's fish pond. One paddy is counted as having fertilizer during every harvest, and that can work together really well. If you have big hexes as well, then you can always make sure that that hex has a fertilizer in it every time that it's harvested. And if you have pests as well, then they can be adding up and fertilizing your other things. And then there's things like plant a paddy that contains water, which can be really cool. Remove stones, like once a round, just remove a stone, or gain a livestock for nothing. And as you saw, these things can get really expensive. I didn't really need to buy them in the end, but they can be really expensive if you need them as well for being worth points at the end or whatever, or if you really need those workers. If I didn't have this, I would have needed all of my workers to be able to harvest the entire paddy, so I just wouldn't have been able to do that and they would have rotted. Although if they'd rotted, then there is, because if you don't harvest them the turn that they're ready to be harvested, then they're going to rot and just be worth nothing. You can partially harvest, but the rest of it's going to rot. But this would let you collect yield according to the bottom row. So the worst one, where you would have like pests and weeds, or more than one pest or more than one weed. So the worst row, but at least you're getting something for not having to spend any workers to let that thing rot. So there's a lot of variety in those. As you saw in when I got that card that let me go through the achievements, there are a lot of different achievements in the game as well, and they're not going to come out every game. I think it's 8 in a 2-player game are going to come out and 5 in a solo game. So there's always going to be, between all of the spirit cards, the setup cards, and the achievement tiles, there's always a lot of variety in the game. And the rain cards as well. Everything works together to make it a really different experience every time. And it's been really fun all the times that I've tried it. Now, the solo game, as you saw, it's not that much to change. It's not that much upkeep at all. It's just this tiny little thing. He has 10 workers, I assume, for the achievement tile that says you need to have the fewest workers. Maybe there's another function for him having those workers as well. But the fact that he can store a ton of water, and he doesn't really let it out that much. Like in the game, he's just letting 2 out, 1 out, and then 4. If I had been second, then he would be storing a lot of water. I assume, on the other hand, he would have filled up and had to let some out at some point, but it would have been a much harder game if I hadn't been first. He would have been storing a lot of water. Ooh. And that's all he really does. He's just a way to kind of limit you and get in your way, as things should be in a solo game. It's not like you're really competing with him that much, although you are for turn order. And it's great how when you pick the spirit cards, it's a great draft for a start of you drawing 4 cards, you can only have one of them. So it's not like a few things change and you know that's coming back. In a normal draft, like in a 2-player draft, you know that hopefully this is coming back to me, so I can let this go and just hope that this is going to come back. In the solo draft, it's just draw 4, have 1. They're all great, you want all of them, but only have 1, and then draw 3 and then draw 2. But the great thing is that you know what you are giving the dummy as well. You know what numbers you're giving him. So if you are taking these, if you've got the choice between high and low cards, and you're taking the ones with the great powers, then you know that the 6 in his discard pile to pick his spirit cards from is going to be all of the low numbers. So you're going to be going second. You know what you're setting yourself up for by discarding these cards. It's a lovely little system. And it's just a couple of card draws. It's hardly anything extra from just playing the game as normal. And it's a lovely little system. And hopefully I didn't get anything too wrong that would have altered my score. I assume there's some mistakes in there somewhere, because there always is. But hopefully there's nothing too major. But that is Spirits of the Rice Paddy. I think as a multiplayer game and a solo game, it's really enjoyable. And I am looking forward to trying to be excellent at it. But that's not quite achievable with what I did. If I had, like, there was an achievement, I've kind of cleared everything away now because I've been pulling everything up, but there was an achievement tile that I never got. Maybe that would have helped me out, because you need to kind of plan ahead that there's only this many rounds, there's this many achievement tiles out. If I plan right, I should be able to get all of these achievement tiles, because I need to tailor my gameplay to be able to get all of these tiles, but I couldn't quite manage it. Oh, I forgot to mention, I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video, and maybe at the beginning of the playthrough video actually. Thanks to Gretchen on, I think it was Board Game Geek, where she asked me to do Spirits of the Rice Paddy, and in doing so reminded me that it had the solo variant in it. I hadn't played it at all. I've had the game since whenever the Kickstarter was delivered, and I've played it 2-player a few times, but completely forgotten that it had the solo stuff inside it. So thanks to Gretchen for reminding me of that. And anyway, that is enough about this game. So thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you for the next game. And if you want to request something, then just send me a message. Although you can only see about 20 games or something behind me. If you want to see any of them, let me know. So I'll see you for the next video, and bye everyone.